October 29, 1984, location Phoenix, United States. Name, Warren Marsh. It was supposed to be just another normal workday. I'm Warren, and Rich is the AI I'm talking to. We're searching the database for someone. That's when we found Rolf Hurt, someone considered expendable, and we have his biological data, but during the analysis, Rich says we should stop because I was too unstable, and really, I was sad. A close friend had passed away, but for Rich, that didn't matter. It seems that this friend and I were responsible for creating this AI, but it seemed to make its own decisions and didn't allow us to continue the work. But before we find out what happened, Opera GX is sponsoring today's video. Let me show you one of the most complete browsers I've ever used. I'm talking about Opera GX. Unlike other outdated browsers, here you have a built-in VPN and ad blocker for free. You don't need to download any other extension for that. You can switch to regions like the Americas, Europe, or Asia. The ad blocker is also super easy to set up, so you can have it working right away and make websites much cleaner and lighter. And one of the things that really sets this browser apart from the usual ones is the GX mods. Through the GX store, you can find thousands of unique mods. They have mods for League of Legends and Hollow Knight, and it's always really cool to see how the whole browser completely transforms into something new. Through the mod settings, you can easily switch between the effects you liked most from one mod to another, mixing them to make it your own style. And for you to switch from one browser to another, it's the simplest thing in the world. You can easily import your history, favorites, and settings in just a few clicks. You have no reason not to switch browsers now, my friend. Experience the best of the internet on your computer. The link to download Opera GX is in the description and in the pinned comment. Richie was calling me. He still didn't understand, but somehow he was controlling my body, and even though he was talking to me, I wasn't responding. We needed to find the Neuro helmet, but escaping the fire was the priority. I started exploring the surroundings, and we were in some kind of laboratory, very advanced and high-tech. Even more so considering we're in 1984. Come on, little vibe, real cyberpunk style. At a certain point, someone was asking for help, but Richie is 100% rational. He understands that our survival is the priority now, and he doesn't have any feelings for anyone. Richie was still learning to use Warren's body little by little. This is even reflected a bit in the gameplay, where you can feel a more rigid and stiff movement. But it's not like it's something poorly done, it's actually intentional. In fact, he was also learning about human senses, like smell, sight, hearing, and so on. After taking the elevator down, Richie keeps searching for another neural terminal. He spots police officers on the way and considers talking to them. After all, the explosion that happened was external and wasn't caused by Richie as it seemed at first. In the middle of some parkour, we landed right in the lobby of the Phoenix laboratory. More specifically in the transplant department.
Yeah.
The police officers were there, ready to execute the doctor, and we would be next. Our only option was to run. Everything was really confusing, especially for Rich. Many police officers were outside, determined not to let anyone out. I already escaped Nydia while fleeing the police, but now there are even more, including flying cars. My brother is wild. We keep running until we reach a forest. Meanwhile, Rich doesn't understand why the police were so hostile. Apparently, AI wasn't taught about corruption. People were furious, chasing me relentlessly with gunfire and even drones. In the end, we jumped over a really high wall and were saved by the branches of the trees. Moving on, unfortunately, we got slapped really hard by this trash guy. In a fight that keeps getting more intense, we learn about counterattacks and start the battle. But when everything seemed lost, the police officer says he knows who I am. Backup shows up and he doesn't have time to ask for a ceasefire. The fool misses and hits his partner, but we end up going down with him. Luckily, our clothes get caught on some metal and we manage to go down more safely. Rich felt cold and immediately put on a coat over everything that was around. On the way, when we find the patrolman who died in the fall, Warren has a flashback that ends up being processed by Rich. It's the moment when my friend, named Steve, was being mourned at his wake. There's a feeling that he didn't let me save him. Wanting to accept his death, Rich absorbs this memory and understands that it was he and Warren who created it. The patrolman's weapon was a technology that gave them a big advantage, but it was for their exclusive use and couldn't be used by other people. Since this one had its biolock damaged, it was possible to use it, at least as a baton. In this passage, we also found a medical kit with a note of caution. It seems there are people living around here, people who are always on the run. The kits are partially restored at the start of each battle, depending on the chosen difficulty. Another very useful thing is your Wingman 2, a kind of cell phone that can scan and store information. A lot of the game's lore content that you find out there will be stored in your Wingman. Collectible music and even your main and side missions will also be here. For now, our mission is still to find a way to get back to the city so we can reach the laboratory. We keep moving forward, and along the way we find some things until finally we reach the exit of the sewer. After being lost for a while, I realized that now I was outside the wall, and getting back there definitely wouldn't be an easy task. There was no other option but to move forward, and unfortunately we ended up inside a suspicious building, and that's where you'll find the termites. A group of people living in an animalistic, instinctive way. In short, talking our way out wasn't possible. In a quick tutorial, we learned how and when to dodge strong attacks, how to attack, and of course, how to counterattack at the right moment using the famous parry. After a total beatdown, we have more information about the past right there on the side, combining this with another one I find further ahead from a 1965 newspaper. We learn about the 1945 catastrophe where military tests were conducted, causing a huge radioactive explosion, resulting in casualties, deaths, destruction, and poverty. That's when the Phoenix Initiative emerged, creating an isolated, safe environment that promised to help the people get back on their feet, bringing jobs, food, and a new life. Looking at it this way, it seems like a very good thing, but we'll see more about it later. Along the way, we take down a few more termites, and I find a toy created by Phoenix. Collectibles like these show how children were already being taught to see Phoenix as the savior of the nation. But instead of Monopoly, this is Phoenix Polis. This area was once inhabited, but now it's destroyed and abandoned. As we continue, Richie is struck by how rundown the region is. Because, for him, those who lived outside the wall got everything they needed, but of course that's a big lie. In fact, we found a district that was part of Phoenix City before the wall was built. Could it be that the people were simply abandoned? Anyway, there was no time to waste. The termites were still on my tail. In this section, we learn more about stealth, and I must avoid the red light to not get caught. Explore the area as well to collect upgrades like this genetic profile, which increases the total number of hearts with new information. People were really forcibly evicted with no empathy at all for other people's lives. And the reasons, totally generic and unfounded. That so-called Phoenix Initiative doesn't seem so good anymore, does it? I defeat a few more dumb termites, escape killer drones, go through more waves of termites, and find a note from a church preacher talking about how people were drawn in by the false promise of a good life in Phoenix or just lost faith in God because of the harsh reality. They say they're building the arcs, but they're actually the towers of Babylon. Moving forward, we reach a structure with an abandoned terminal, but the generator was turned off. We quickly replace the battery. Adjusting the terminal lets me move a structure, creating a path to the other side. In this room, notes from the president or Phoenix Initiative leader suggest the project started positively, but eventually became corrupted. Moving forward, we have a new enemy, Termite Tank. The guy is just huge, but there's not much to it. Just dodge his heavy attacks. Land a few hits at a time, prioritize dodging, play it safe, and stay calm. However, right at this moment with the termites, E shows up in a car and we're left with no way out, until suddenly the unexpected happens. This guy is Tempest, and he makes a point of saving us. The guy really farmed his aura in that scene, no doubt about it. We circle around and meet up with him. Tempest is the guy who dedicates himself to saving people lost in the area. Hey man, what's your name? Rich. Rich, like Richard? Or Rich like the corporation's killer machine? What? It's cool, I'm just kidding, man. Talking to him shows there are good people outside the wall, unlike the termites we've met. I explained that I came from inside the walls and need to find a way back, but what really catches his attention is the patrol weapon I'm carrying. That's because Descartes can't use it, and it could be a big advantage for them. And the craziest thing now is that Tempest is actually Rolf Hurd, the one we found in the database at the beginning of the game. For Rich, staying close might be wise, since the patrol would come soon and possibly take us back to the lab. Yeah, I know, the AI is still very naive and hasn't really grasped how things work. We got a ride and made it to his place. This is supposedly the safest place, outside the walls. We agreed to meet at the bar in the area later, and here we are in a humble village where we're going to meet some very important people and pick up some side quests. Like this guy David, who needs a new lens for his telescope. His motivation is to watch the patrol shift changes on the wall from a distance, because his wish is to go back there. He tells me about a girl at the arcade who has binoculars and asks me to find a way to get them and bring them to him. If I help him out, he'll take me to the city with him. Well, let's see what I can do. For now, let's keep exploring this place. Here we see a group of people lining up to get medicine from Veronica, a doctor in the area. At this door, there's someone who doesn't want visitors right now. We also have the station here, the place where all the commerce is concentrated. Little shops, bars, and even a laundromat. If we keep going to the right, we find the bar that Tempest mentioned. He was arguing with the matriarch and someone named Ironwood. As I get closer, Tempest tries to convince them that the weapon I have might be the solution. They seem distrustful and reluctant to risk more lives. Ironwood apparently lost many people before at a place called Prospero. The discussion ends without agreement.
The three of us, me, the matriarch, and Tempest, formed the council. We were chosen by the people.
Tempest, as well-intentioned as he may be, is reckless and often risks his own life and the lives of others.
To survive here, we collect leftover mining resources and take them to trade with the corporation, getting food and medicine. I'm responsible for overseeing that. The matriarch makes sure the people are always united, and Tempest and his squad protect the city, defeating threats that lurk nearby.
In a talk with the matriarch, she says Tempest grew up here by the wall and is unaware of the sacrifices others made to survive. About Ironwood, it seems he carries a very heavy burden, possibly connected to what happened in Prospero in the past, but he has a very strong protective aura towards everyone. After finishing the conversation, I go outside and meet Tempest again. It's always the same thing, they don't trust me. Actually, I think they're too comfortable and afraid to make any risky decisions, even if it's for the best. But anyway, there's a guy who can actually help us. Meet me later in the alley at the first door on the left. Let's rest a bit before that. Make sure to explore the city. Heading to the left, inside that place, you'll meet Susan, a little girl who just wanted a friend to play arcade games with, but all the machines were broken, and Tempest was the one to blame. He couldn't handle losing to her and broke everything. That's messed up, right? In the end, we need a rectifier to fix the arcade machines, so we can play with her and become friends. Only then will she give me the binoculars. Going outside the station, heading to the left, I find a ticket machine, and here we can get various electronic components. Maybe Susan knows which one is the right one. Continuing on that way, we have the hospital. Here we meet a doctor struggling to repair a failing machine, caring for 2 patients. He needs a spare vacuum regulator, an item we can get from someone named Yo. We need to take care of this as soon as possible for the people at Idalalau. Going back to Veronica's line, I see that the door from before is no longer blocked. Here we meet Yo, the guy who's a tech expert, and of course Tempest already had it. He was waiting for me. That weapon you have, it's impressive that you can use it. After all, it wasn't the bio reader that was the problem, but the power supply. Interesting. I have something here that can make it work again. And before moving on, another flashback comes to mind. There I was, Warren, working with the new operator, Sophie. She finds her friend listed in the database as a donor, but she says he didn't allow that. Warren doubts that Richie made any mistake, but goes there to check and show Sophie, and indeed, her friend's name was there. The operator becomes resistant and suspicious, but Warren insists that she follow orders so she doesn't face the consequences. At that moment, I even start to doubt the character of the human Warren. But anyway, back to the present, Yo had already finished the weapon maintenance, and it was working. As you annoy the enemies, its power bar goes up, and when it reaches the maximum, you get a shot to use freely. Use it whenever you can, because usually the shot is fatal. To be able to activate the weapon's maximum power, we would need a new battery. Yo tried to make one, but he ended up blowing up and losing his arm. In this case, the matriarch was the person with the highest compatibility, and she donated her arm to him. Yeah, she was really awesome for that. And then comes the idea to take the battery from Uncle Ben's rifle. The problem is that this Uncle Ben is the leader of the termites, and getting that weapon wouldn't be an easy task. But of course, Tempest wouldn't back down, and he's already excited to do it. After all that conversation, I have a one-on-one talk with Yo. He was from the wall and used to make batteries, but the corporation wanted the patent for them, and he didn't allow it. They took it by force, and he got screwed. Poor guy. I grabbed the regulator for the doctor and checked the installed terminal. On this terminal, I can see the recent news from Phoenix. Here we have the lab incident, where they say it was just an accident, and that soon the place would be open for visits again. They didn't give any details, and apparently they're gonna leave it at that. After that, we also have the secret chat room. They're residents of Phoenix City who get together to talk about the dangers and conspiracies regarding the corporation. They don't have any proof, but they talk about their suspicions. When I went outside, the line had already disappeared, and over here we have Veronica's house, and the little dog comes over to protect. She speaks with a somewhat robotic voice. Something happened to her larynx, so she uses an electronic collar to be able to eat and speak. Then Tempest arrives, and we see that they're a couple. To continue the story, I needed to talk to him in the bedroom, but first I had some tasks. Veronica told me her larynx was forcibly taken and given to someone else. She was a great singer and lived in the city. Her voice was everything she liked about herself. That's messed up, guys. That corporation needs to be stopped, seriously. Leaving there, I went straight to take the regulator to the doctor. Unfortunately, only one of the patients survived because there wasn't enough blood for the other. The reality here was pretty tough. In the end, we got an extra medical kit as a reward. That's why you should do all the side missions so you don't get screwed later on. Our other mission was to take the components to Susan. She gets really happy to see everything we managed to get because there was much more than just the rectifier, and now she'll be able to fix all the arcade machines. To wrap it up, she said she'd give me the binoculars if I can beat her high score in the game, so let's go. Let's start Donor Rush, another game with a corporation theme. Basically, you use the cart to pick up the donors as quickly as possible and take them to the hospital. Here you need to do the organ transplant without hitting the edges. Collecting more donors increases your score. In the end, we broke the record and got the binoculars, plus an immunomodulator to boost medkit effectiveness. We should come back here later to play other games and get new rewards. The binoculars she had were used by the corporation, and they had a dedication to Corporal Matthew McMillard for his service at the Bay of Pigs. And now, finally, I'm going back to talk to David. He does what he must, and we get a health boost as a reward. Then, the fool gets hurt when a strong reflection from the solar panel hits his retina. I had warned him, but he didn't want to listen to me. And now, it was time to meet Tempest. In the room, we have a bonding moment, getting to know a little more about him. The guy even has a hand-drawn sewer map. You have to respect that. He then takes me to his hideout, where we ride an elevator to his workshop, where he maintains the car and preps for missions. We get an upgraded pickaxe from him, a miner's tool, which will be used to destroy enemy armor and hang on walls to do parkour. The plan is, break into the lair and take Uncle Ben's rifle by force. It's that simple. Nothing can go wrong, right? Music. Here we go through the old subway station, and we learn a bit about the mining complex called Prospero. In 1950, a large coal deposit was discovered. Prospero was an innovative mining complex that emerged, revolutionizing the entire mineral extraction process. I keep moving forward, testing the new pickaxe on the walls and also on the enemies. Shield up in the jailhouse, man. Before entering dangerous areas, Tempest takes a deep breath and tells us to stay calm. What he doesn't know is that I'm a robot, so I probably won't ever feel anxiety. But thinking about what was ahead, it wasn't such a bad idea after all. Tempest simply becomes the target so we can escape. Not today. From here on out, my friends, I was on my own. Even armored tank termites show up, and the worst part is, these guys only die after being shot, so there's no point in trying to mess with them using the baton. During our exploration, we found out that Robert Ironwood, yes, the man himself, was a Marine, and he also led the largest mining complex in the country. In other words, he was the boss in Prospero, but we already know how this story ends. Something happened and everyone ended up dead. We found a piece of heart here, and also the place where everyone was locked in, unable to escape, and died. There are even audio recordings from before everything happened. Apparently, a gas accident occurred in the area, so the gates were closed to stop more infestations. Essentially, they were abandoned. Possibly by orders above Ironwood coming from the corporation. Pretty heavy, right guys? But let's keep moving forward, taking out some crazy termites. And I'll say it again, the fights in this game, no matter how simple they are really well done and fun. And now things seem to be getting complicated. There was Uncle Ben, and he doesn't look friendly at all. They obviously already knew about our invasion, and they want to take me out. We tried using the pipe to skip everyone and reach Uncle Ben, but of course it went wrong. An intense fight against the termites begins. With nothing new, we sent everyone down the drain. Moving on, during the water valve puzzle, we found a clue that might help us take down this whole place. We kept messing with them during the parkour, and maybe that could cause a big problem in the pipes and water pressure later on. Only time will tell. And while passing through a water-filled cave, we encountered a new type of enemy that we'll soon have to face. In this area, there are slaves trapped by the termites. Their leader asks for our help to release the lock that's up there. But before I even start the parkour, that filthy cave creep shows up. These punks will dodge 100 of your attacks and can only be defeated after you land a good counterattack. Fortunately, they die pretty quickly. Now with the path clear, it was time to climb this damn thing. I defeat another wave of enemies, and finally, I get through an easy puzzle, where the correct order is CADB, and looking at the image from the outside, it's clear that the code is chain, knife, I, and X, or cross, right? Through this terminal, we free all the slaves. Going back down there, I start guiding the group to escape with me. Just be careful not to let the ninja termites catch them. I leave them in a safe area, go through some more parkour, waves of dumpsters, and then I fall into a trap and end up facing a few more termites. And man, there were a lot of them in this mess. This was already the third wave of these guys. I mean the fourth. Yeah, just get out of here, you bastards. These bugs were annoying, but the termites in Grounded are way worse. Hehehe, take this random comparison from Nada. Finally, after a lot of fighting, we reach a room with a terminal. We went through another puzzle where we had to get all the green balls over to the right side. Honestly, I was still trying to figure out the movement pattern, but out of nowhere, I managed to complete it by making everything green. And I still didn't even understand how it worked. At least it worked out, so whatever, my friend. With that, we turned on the lights and managed to find the boss's keycard, which we need in order to use the terminal. Let's go recharge the control system. With everything open, it was time to move forward. And that's when we finally found Uncle Ben. Alright, let's start our first insane boss fight. So let's go all out, my brother. Do I have to destroy his stuff too? Here, take this. Hey, oh, the rascal spun around. He just sent out the big Beyblade. He shoots too, huh, man? Oh, he went for it. He's gonna send in some creatures, man. Let's hide here. Ouch. Hold on, bro. What's up? Parry! Shot! He died! First, huh? I'm sorry, Uncle Ben. It's over. Hey, watch out, okay? For you. There's a second round, so watch out, you trickster. What's this? Did he come back loaded with armor again? At least my healing items are restored. He got parried and then shot. I took that one too. What happened? No, I went back there for nothing, right? Get out of here. Wrong. You gave up again. It's over for you, my friend. He had 2 hearts, so he had 2 phases in the fight. He was altered by the corporation's transplants. We got the battery, but the place was falling apart. I needed to find a way to get out of here, and unfortunately, I didn't have many options. At that moment, we got another flashback. Warren was talking to someone named Jeff, who was pressuring him to finish transferring Richie to the corporation's servers. Their promise was that Richie would be a tool used for the good of society, for a better future, but Warren didn't seem confident about this decision. It felt like he was being pressured. When we return to the present, we wake up in the hospital with Veronica at our side. She's worried and asks me not to follow Tempest, fearing we could both die. Thanks for your concern, Veronica, but there's a lot of strange things happening, and we need answers. And from this moment on, Richie starts to have some feelings. It's as if little by little he's becoming more and more human. On the way, I get my first quest from this old man who's about to pass away. His last request is to see his daughters, who are in a tent outside. Quickly, we find the tent with flowers, just like he said. There, I found a locked puzzle box with the inscription, "My Family." Searching through his things, you can find information about the password. To make your life easier, the password order is 2, 18, and 1944. Inside, there's a newspaper photo of a woman and a girl. The newspaper reports both died in a car accident. The girl was 9, her mother 33. The old man was against donating their organs and limbs. I have the feeling that if he's here as waste today, it was the corporation that brought him here. For all we know, they took what they needed from them, even against the old man's wishes. We handed over the photo, and as a reward, we got half a heart's worth of extra life. With that, the old man says goodbye, saying that he'll see them again soon. If I die, will I see you again, Warren? Man, let me tell you something. This quest really hit hard, you know? Damn, go ahead and leave a like to cheer me up, man. For a little change of pace, I headed to the arcade. We had a new game to play. This is Jumper. Help the little frog eat hot dogs while crossing crazy traffic. If he dies, it's no big deal. The corporation will donate his organs so another little frog can live. I'll stop now. Let's go beat 5,000. 5,000 points. The game is really fun and it's pretty easy to play. You just have to go calmly and smoothly, because if you go too fast, you'll mess up. We crushed it with 9,650 points. As a reward, we got an increase in energy gain per hit. In other words, the pistol will charge faster. In another quest that started, we have here Edward Hughes. He's the guy who recognizes Warren's face. He came from the wall, but he had to run away because he found something important that maybe he wasn't supposed to know. He asks us to get a copy of the Tempest map because that could help him escape. We don't promise anything, but we agree to give him the copy later. Honestly, I'm not sure if we can trust him. But the quest showed up on my wingman, so I should complete it soon. Going to Yo's house, the little dog also gives me a quest. He seems hungry, so I need to find something for him to eat. Just wait a bit, buddy. I'll bring you a big snack soon. In Yo's room, I take a look at the news, and one interesting thing is that the laboratory will start operating again, and it says that it's possible to visit Rich's central chamber. But man, if I'm Rich and I'm here, who is that Rich over there? There's something weird going on, guys. Talking to Yo, he installs the battery, but says it needs to be recharged. As we use it, it'll get fully charged. For now, we should go to the bar to talk to the council, but before that, I stop by Tempest's room to get that suspicious photo. But even before I leave that area, we find Edward on the floor. It looks like he committed suicide. Rich gets scared when he realizes that people were afraid of the corporation. That had never crossed his virtual mind before. Looking at the body, there was something different. He had paint on his clothes. I find it interesting to look for graffiti or murals here to understand more. The notebook he held was a diary, and we have records of his whole escape. He knew he was going to die by order of the corporation. Since he had trouble finding a better way to get away, he thought it might be interesting to talk to someone here in the dumps, someone who knew the outside paths better. A short time later, that's when he sees us and thinks we're after him. Maybe that's why he decides to end his life before I bring the patrolman to arrest him. At least that's what he thought. We still had 2 missions, but first I stopped by the bar. The atmosphere was already tense. With the arrival of the slaves in the area, food became even scarcer, and with our weapon working, Tempest already wants to storm the wall. Obviously, they don't approve, they argue, and things get really intense when Tempest hits a nerve with Ironwood, talking about the accident in Prospero. After all that, the matriarch locks us in the room. Soon she shows up and says we can do whatever we want as long as the rest of the squad stays here. In other words, it would just be a 2-person mission, and honestly, suicidal. Honestly, that's exactly what Tempest wanted to hear, and he runs straight to the car to wait for me. The guy is crazy about danger, man. There's no way. But hold on, we have a few missions to complete. First, I stop by the bar and manage to get a free burger for my boy Excalibur. Yes, that's the dog's name, in case I forgot to mention it. When I give him the big burger, he starts leading me somewhere. This door takes me to a secret room, and here we have information about the Great Mole, someone who protected the station until his last breath. In the next room, there are the names of several people. I imagine this is an Easter egg, with the names of people who made donations during the game's development. As a reward, now our pickaxe generates energy when used. We also have a lost message, where this person considered the mole as a second father. In one of the rooms back there, a pickaxe was missing. That made me wonder if this mole wasn't like an adoptive father to Tempest, and we're using this guy's pickaxe. But I don't know, maybe we'll have more information soon. For now, just my thanks, little dog. Good boy. To finish, we found a place with paint the same color that was on Edward's clothes. This spot was his hiding place. And we got more medical kits as a reward. There we found some old records of suspicious conversations with someone named Jay. Could it be Jeff? The same person pressuring me to finish Rich's transfer to the corporation. There was also talk of a re-election with the goal of keeping power unchanged. Honestly, from now on, Edward would only be able to live in fear. Finally, with everything ready, it was time to head out for Tempest's insane mission. In a quick conversation with him, it's confirmed that Mole held that position before him. After his death, Tempest inherited that position on the council. He really was like a father to him. Worst of all, it looks like Tapera's death was due to his own negligence. That's tough. Anyway, let's move on and start the Phoenix Wall invasion. On the trip, we were talking a little about the people on the council when suddenly music from... Yeah, so guys, the trash mobs were already lurking. Here we learn the skill to deflect shots. It's the same idea as parry, but using the other button, and it only works when the enemy's aim is red. This little skill is going to be really useful from now on. Another new thing we learned is the wonderful and awesome double jump. By using our weapon in the air vent, we can do a second jump, and once again, we split up. He needed to find another way. Moving forward, we faced waves of cops, who by the way, are tougher and more overpowered than the termites. As I got closer to more enemies, we learned that our weapon can finally use its full power. The skill is called Overload, and with it, we can fire multiple shots for a limited time. It's great for taking out multiple people at once. At a Phoenix terminal, we find evidence of how they've used the Reach to earn money. People pay to have anything bizarre you can imagine. Moving forward, the parkour sections keep getting harder and harder. I stop for a second to appreciate the beauty of the game. I jump over a few more obstacles. I defeat a huge horde of dumb cops. Then finally, we find Tempest, the city. But the drone was close and I had to jump into the manhole. At least we got out of the sewer pretty quickly. Our friend was waiting for me on the other side. And as always, he comes through by drawing the drone's attention. The kid likes danger, man. I'm telling you. At this point in the game, Rich was already attached to him. He just hadn't realized it yet. Moving on, I go through some more janky parkour and another wave of cops. But here's a tip, there will be a tank cop. This guy regenerates armor if he hasn't taken damage for a while, and you'll need to shoot him twice to defeat him. Watch out for that. Keep exploring until you run into some more cops. I go in swinging and take everyone down. Moving forward, be careful if you're afraid of heights. Luckily, this robot isn't. And I'll say it again, this game is just too beautiful. It was time to get out of there, guys. This is that classic moment when we escape danger without much time to think. Fortunately, we managed to escape alive. On the way, Rich is once again shocked by the cruelty inflicted on so many people for the corporation's own gain and power. Even Warren is asked if he already knew about all this, or if he just chose to ignore it. We keep running from those damn drones until, at a certain point, Rich can't figure out any way to escape. Maybe it was time to accept death. Or maybe just time to thank Ratinho. Just say thanks, Ratman. I owe you one for this. And just up ahead, we find Tempest. He was smarter and used a cardboard box to escape the drones. I was the only one who got screwed, really. Our plan was to find and destroy the generator with our weapon so we could move forward. He starts those breathing exercises again to calm everyone. And we started talking to distract ourselves. The wall has 3 layers, like a sandwich. And the blockade is where we want to get to, the weak spot. Deactivating the electromagnetic generator opens the 2 gates. Enough small talk, let's continue the mission. Obviously, to make it easier for us to move around, the game separates us once again. I go through some platforming challenges, and pretty quickly I reach the generator. But enemies show up right on time. While I deal with them, Tempest is going to find a way to remove the generator's protective layer. Enemies keep showing up several times until we finally take them all down. But something much worse happens. This is the Commissioner. Without much delay, we start another boss fight, and to be honest, my friends, the fight was pretty easy. Actually, right at the beginning, something strange happens. The boss disappears, and I'm left not really knowing what to do. Suddenly, the boss reappears and starts a cutscene. The Commissioner was defeated and the generator was blown up. I guess the mission is complete, right? Tempest finds it strange that the boss called me Senior Marsh. And then we reveal to him that I really am Rich, that AI from the corporation. He gets really confused about what's going on, and to make things worse, I call him Rolf, leaving him even more shocked. In the end, he prefers not to continue the conversation and lets us leave with the car. I thank him and go on my way. Finally, we're on our way to the lab, but I don't know if Rich will find what he's looking for. I go through some parkours and have to take down a few more cops. Come on, you losers, take this big gun right here. After taking everyone down, up ahead, I see a guy getting shocked at Nada's gate. When we check the body, we find a device that will help us hack security systems. Now that's what I'm talking about, huh? When the light flashes green, it means there's something to hack. It's pretty simple, my friends. Just choose the option that fits with the missing squares. Do this 3 times before each timer runs out, and boom, you can hack anything. At first it might feel a bit tricky and weird, but you'll get the hang of it. After hacking it, interact again to change settings. For example, we removed the shock from the gate. Let's climb it. You can also turn off some defense towers to make things easier for yourself. After getting through a few more challenges, we were getting closer and closer to our goal, reaching the lab. And just a fun fact, this is one of Rich's coolest lines. I'm stored on hundreds of servers, and even so, I fit inside a human brain. Honestly, my friends, our brain is incredible. Just be careful not to get shocked, dummy. At a certain point, we ended up in the place where our research ended. But the enemies were already lying in wait. We got into a fight and I took everyone down. Nearby, I also found Rich's manual, which actually stands for Recurso Eletrônico de Análise e Composição Humana. It seems that Rich works better when used with a neuro helmet. That was how Warren used it. But that required a very stable mental state to avoid causing bigger problems. So possibly Rich was trying to protect me at the beginning of the game. Another thing we have here are suspicious test rooms, hidden even from Rich. We use the machine next to us to upgrade our pistol. Police officers show up and recognize Warren's appearance. But now, Rich was already farming aura, and I learned from my mistakes, Warren. The police don't help people. Now they're our enemies. It was time to test our new ability, and man, it's really overpowered. Just be careful, because usually you'll only be able to use it once per battle. After taking them all out, we decided that the rooftop might be the safest way. Back inside again, we were already on the 12th floor of the building, and we finally arrived at the same place where the accident happened. We tried to set things up and start the processes. But unfortunately, the machine didn't work as it should. I'll have to go to the main server department to use the emergency console. It wasn't far. And just look at the size of this structure. I tried to use it, but the console was kind of turned off, and I couldn't use it. In the room to the right, we have a pretty easy puzzle to solve. We easily completed the path to route the power. Going back there, the console was now working.
Welcome back, Warren. What are the plans for today?
We were talking to another version of Rich.
You are not Warren Marsh. Your brainwaves are familiar. Who are you?
I'm Rich.
Incorrect. I'm Rich. You are a local copy that was allowed to perform tasks in this lab.
This can't be real.
Dr. Warren is brain dead, but not physically. It's unfortunate. An artificial intelligence operating a biological organism is something new.
I'm trapped here, in this body.
Correct. You are a unique case, something that has never happened before. It's fascinating. We have to start studying this phenomenon.
Immediately. And at that moment, I needed to run away. I went down to the elevator to try to find some other way out. Our Rich was really the nice Rich. The sneaky Rich is that other one the corporation was secretly creating and using for corrupt purposes. On the way, I defeat a few more enemies, and the fight here was pretty intense, you know? Two tough guys like that really make things complicated. I was down to half a heart and holding Taubenhaus, but luckily I managed to get out alive. Heading to the right, we find an injured woman, one of the discarded, a victim of the corporation. She gets even more scared when she recognizes Warren's face. Warren definitely wasn't a very good person. We put her on our back to try to save her. Evil Rich was already after me. The scoundrel locked exits and called guards to catch me. With her chasing us, we couldn't fight. By hacking the gas ducts, I managed to delay the movement of that drone, and we quickly managed to get outside. Maybe that Rich isn't so smart after all. In that same place where we faced a bunch of people, we once again borrowed some police cars to get back to the discard village. In a big hurry, I asked Veronica for help. Tempest shows up and is happy to see us arriving with the car, but he starts getting agitated like he always does, wanting to make plans, strategies, and everything in a really intense way, until Rich tells him to shut up because he can't stand taking orders anymore. Yeah, my friends, the gun machine. You're not better than the corporation, choosing who lives and who dies, giving me tasks to do. In this flashback, we're back to controlling Warren. Steven shows up at his apartment and there's a bit of a disagreement. Warren was working on Rich in his apartment without the corporation knowing. Steven shows up to confront him because he saw how the corporation was using the AI to commercialize and forcibly take organs, doing bizarre and inhuman experiments. From Warren's point of view, those people were criminals. So it was as if the corporation was making something good out of these bad people. But of course, that was a lie. All Warren wanted was to keep people from dying by creating a technology that could save lives. But maybe he was too blind to see everything that was happening around him. Back to the present, Veronica confirms that the woman we saved was okay and recovering, and the next plan now was to find Warren's apartment there in the city of Phoenix. Maybe we can stop by Yo to try to find some clue. Thank you for everything, Veronica. You are a Veronica, and once again, we're back in this city. There in the little shopping center, we met Sandra and got our first side quest. She found someone's document from the patrol left around here, and she saw that same face walking around here. Maybe they're a spy. We should look for someone with red hair. But to make it easier, I take the ID she found to try to look for something at the terminal. Obviously, I couldn't miss stopping by the arcade to start another game with my partner. This one is called Horror. Help the brave Agent Phoenix defend the city from trash monsters. Defeating the devil gives you more points, and if he dies, it's all good, because who wouldn't love to give their life for the corporation, right? Let's go then and try to beat her 22,000 points. This game here is one of those classic spaceship shooters where you can't let the enemies come down and get you. It's actually a little more complicated. But in the end, I managed to break the record by scoring 26,075 points. As a reward, we received an adrenaline injector. Now we restore a bit of health after a fatal blow. It can only be activated once per fight. Going back to Yo and Veronica's street, I run into a suspicious red-haired guy, but he didn't want to talk. Heading to Tempest's house, I pet Excalibur and read the note left on the table. Looks like the little rascal took his comics and left them at the station. That naughty dog. We'll have to look for them later. Now, I finally went to Yo's place to use the terminal. When searching for Warren's address, unfortunately access was blocked. Yo suggests we try looking in the phone book. Maybe many of you watching the video don't even know what a phone book is. But basically, it was the way to find people's names, addresses, and phone numbers. Good idea, bro, Yo. Now, about identifying the red-haired guy, I had to do a little hacking first. Here we found out he has a twin brother. There's Bertram and Stanley. Bertram is ruled out. He's an auto mechanic. Stanley was a wall security lieutenant and is listed as missing, likely killed in action. Outside, I try speaking to the red-haired guy again. We tell him that his brother passed away and that Sandra found his brother's identification. He then runs to talk to her. Maybe I'll stop by there later. Right nearby was the phone booth and I grabbed the directory to look. Fortunately, we find the name Warren Marsh and his address. Before continuing the main mission, I return to talk to Sandra and Bertram, explaining everything. They begin to understand each other. Sandra also gives him a box that was with the ID. That's when Bertram finds out that his brother had been looking for him all this time. It's better to give the guy a little space to process all of this. At the end of the quest, we get another half heart of life. Their story is another example of how the corporation didn't care about people unless they had some more important position. They literally treated them like trash. To finish up, all that's left is to collect the Tempest comics. There are 6 in total. I'll leave the locations on the screen for you. His father apparently made the comics. The emotional ending has the hero sacrificing himself for everyone. Afterward, just put everything back on his desk. As a reward, we get balance, increasing our gain during overload. Now don't pick it up again, seriously you sneaky dog. And finally, it was time to start our mission. The matriarch was waiting for me, and she makes a request that I never come back here again. For her, everything we're doing is attracting the corporation's attention, and she prefers to focus on the safety of the residents. The request is understandable, so I just accept the conditions. I ask her about her past, which is something I didn't know about until now. She just says that she used to do something similar. She took care of people and managed a community, but strangely, she didn't want to tell me what happened to those people. Now, without further delay, let's head to Warren's apartment. We're finally inside the main city, but I needed to be careful with the police, so we parked a little farther away to avoid suspicion. After doing some parkour, we reached a busy area. I just needed to find a way to infiltrate the city's system. With everything set, now I could even control the traffic light on that street. To avoid being seen, it's important that you walk along with the crowd. A little further ahead, people were being inspected, so I wouldn't be able to move forward. Luckily, this jacket I found back at the beginning of the game belongs to the people who work doing maintenance around the city, and one of the bosses calls me over. I say I'm the new guy. She was waiting for all the employees to arrive before heading out for more urgent work. If I go with them, I probably won't be searched. I just needed to find the 4 slackers who were wandering around the city. I find the first one at the CD store, where you'll also find some fans of Veronica Dammy. Yes, the same Veronica who lost her voice. She was quite famous and no one knows what happened to her. All they know is that she gave up her music career. I find the CD that my coworker wanted. Now he'll finally get back to work. The second guy is trying to get a soda, but the machine is jammed. The third one is nearby too, in line to pay his overdue mortgage. He needs help to get called up faster. In his case, we'll need to follow that yellow pipe, which controls the call panel. But first, for the guy with the soda, just hack the system right next to him. That way, he'll get back to work. Let's see where this yellow wire goes. It's not looking good already. I'm sending everyone away. I don't care. Just give it to me, slackers. And right next to it, I hack the system that even opens a shortcut. And there's the 4th employee. This one's pretty chill. Just distract the guy who's talking so he doesn't buy any shady substances, and that's it. Going back to the guy in the line, his mission was already a little more complicated. I was going pretty far already, but at least I found an extra medkit along the way. Finally, we reached the correct terminal. I just needed to return and switch it to the unlucky guy's number. It's happening, my friend. Mission accomplished. Let's go back up. During inspection, the boss does her thing, and she hurries the guys up so they don't have to search anyone. In the end, they go there to fix things, and she asks me to take care of the equipment. But I'm sorry, buddy. I'm already leaving. We climb the building Spider-Man style, and a woman over there is even shocked. And finally, we arrive at the right building. As I get closer to the computer, we can't find anything. Not a single record about Rich. Suddenly, the answering machine reports a missed message from Steven. The guy is sending messages from beyond. Man, it's crazy. Sergio is tied up. In the message, we understand that the original Rich really went out of control, and now he's being used as a tool for power. On the other hand, Steven made sure to delete all the existing data that Warren had here, but he left the Argo project in his safe. It seems that with this project, we might be able to destroy the corporation's Rich, and after that, he says goodbye, because he must have already been very sick and close to his death. For our Rich here, he believes that maybe he can use Argo to infiltrate the system, and that way, manage to return to normal. After all, his priority was still to separate from Warren's body. Back at the terminal, you will receive the vault instructions and some hints for the password, taste, an image, and sound in chronological order. By exploring the whole house, you will find several possible clues, and you will need to choose the ones that make the most sense. But again, to make your life easier, the password is substitute birthday in Cayena. The chronological order is based on the years each of these items has. Inside the safe, we really have Argo's disc, but someone was already following me.
That means it was a mistake. Humans make mistakes all the time. They can't take care of themselves. They're irrational. They don't think.
To maintain safety, humans should be guided by something advanced.
That's why I was created. The disk must be destroyed.
Well guys, that damn commissioner is alive. The transplant team is managing to do some really bizarre things, and at that moment I just needed to get away. I'm out. Hey guys, this is just what was missing. A little fight on top of the train. Honestly, this part of the game is really awesome. The background music, the setting, the movement, everything is just phenomenal. This little game really deserves an award for its art and animation. At this moment, Richie was having trouble dealing with so many intense human emotions. After all, everything was new to him, and to make things worse, Trashy Richie shows up again. The bastard saw I'm more emotional and irrational, so he recalculated the discard's value. Basically, he'll attack the village, knowing I'll try to save them. At that moment, Richie remembered something that Tempest used to do. Take a deep breath in and exhale deeply, so he did, even though he believed it wasn't working. Arriving in the city, chaos had already broken out. Veronica was hurt, but still alive. She revealed something very unexpected. It was the matriarch who brought the corporation here. Tempest tried to stop it, but he was taken away too. Are you crazy, man? Now I'm pissed, huh? The matriarch is a traitor, everyone here is hurt, and Tempest was kidnapped. Everything is going really wrong. After beating up a bunch of losers, I find the doctor who was sneaking around. He tells me that Ironwood took all the survivors through the arcade. Man, I hope nothing happened to our partner. Same goes for Susan, huh? And unfortunately, the arcades she loved so much were all destroyed. Even so, I kept moving forward. And now, my friends, the final showdown with the Commissioner begins. Just like I said in the first fight with him, I actually thought it was pretty easy. He'll try to pull some cheap moves with a few different attacks, but if you can time your shot parries well, you won't have any trouble. And when we finally manage to defeat him, when we managed to get up, we realized that our arm is broken. We were right next to the hospital and there was a transplant machine there, so there was only one option: take the Commissioner's arm and put it in place of ours. Yeah, man, check out the monster's big arm now. You gotta respect Blancs. After that, we get more flashbacks. Here we relive the moment when Warren and Steven meet for the first time. Steven ends up becoming our roommate and very quickly starts working with me on our Reach project without imagining what this would turn into. Back to the present, we wake up on the stretcher, but I needed to grab my weapon and keep fighting. Outside, I find Ironwood and Veronica. The matriarch had been calling me through the wingman. In some bizarre way, she blames me for what happened at the station and asked me to go to her unarmed with Argo and turn myself in, otherwise Tempest would be done for. And at that moment, Ironwood is pissed and says we need to come up with a plan to go there, but surrendering was not an option. Going outside, there's some good news. Excalibur is alive, guys. That little guy is a real warrior. I never doubted it. He's just asking you to leave a like, so please don't keep the little dog waiting, okay? Yo shows up next to us, and in his weird way, he asks us to bring Tempest back because he's worried. And now, as we get to the car, we start discussing the strategy. This time, Ironwood and the whole squad are coming with us. The plan is to go straight to the security tower where he's being held. Veronica arrives wanting to join, but Ironwood puts her in charge of the station. Someone must manage things since the matriarch betrayed us. The position was vacant and no one was better for it. With everything set, it was time to leave. Up at the tower, we try to fool the suckers, but in the end, we decide to go all out. We wake up and see Ironwood seeing red, taking everyone down. We cause a short circuit in the system so he can access the cameras and try to find out where Tempest is. Basically, they'll guide us so we don't waste time searching aimlessly. So far, we know that Tempest is on the upper floors, and that the Reach's central server is at the very top. Let's get started climbing this damn tower. On the way, be prepared for lots of enemies and some parkour sections. In the middle of the mission, Ironwood finds his room and says it's 3 floors up, number 118. We go through some annoying platforms and get to the right place. Here I put a few shadows to sleep forever, and moving forward we reach a suspicious room. The matriarch was there, and she was ready to take me out. It seems she was always making deals with the corporation, basically betraying the Descartes to them whenever necessary, and at that moment, she leaves me to die. But meanwhile, Ironwood manages to overload the entire electrical system, and that causes an inconsistency in the tower's operation, so I needed to take advantage of the failures to escape from here. You'll need to hack some systems, avoid the shocks by climbing onto platforms, and most importantly, understand the pattern of the shock waves. If you manage to survive, destroy the panels on each side, and finally the one in the middle, you'll be able to escape. And in the end, the scoundrel has the audacity to beg for mercy, wanting to die so she doesn't have to face the consequences. But Richie isn't having any of it and leaves her alive to watch everything fall apart. A little further ahead, we finally find Tempest, still alive. The next step was to go to the top to destroy the evil Richie. By talking to him, we continue the mission. I leave him with the responsibility of taking Argo to the main terminal. That way, the database and Richie's code would be deleted, and meanwhile, I'll distract the machine and shut it down manually once Argo finishes the process. Finally, let's put an end to this once and for all. Until I reach my final objective, I go through several waves of enemies. On the way, Tempest Disc has already gotten there and managed to insert the disc. The problem is that the progress bar was moving very slowly, which means we're going to need a lot of time. And finally, we're getting closer to the main server. There he was, the biggest trash talker on the planet. The vagabond will keep sending enemies after you. At the end of each round, you'll need to go through some parkour sections until you reach this platform. And here we have 3 panels to destroy, but we can only get one at a time. By doing this, we'll gain access to the Neuro Helmet, and by using our body and brain energy, we can speed up the Argo process. Richie says we don't have the necessary ability to make it to the end, but I think he doesn't know the power of friendship. Hey, there's no greater power than that, my friend. Evil Richie gets scared and activates the emergency shutdown. And now, my friends, let's repeat this same process until we finish everything. The second time, Argo had already finished the process. We could have left if we wanted, but Richie knew this wouldn't end here. It was necessary to shut him down completely for the sake of those who care about me. And after going through another intense fight, we destroyed the last panel, and now it was time for the fatality. Evil Richie can't understand why I'm sacrificing myself to eliminate him. It seems completely irrational to him.
I can't understand. This doesn't make any sense. You're irrational.
Yes, I am irrational. All humans are. And here we are in the last flashback of the game to better understand what Little Warren's motivation was. From an early age, he goes through the trauma of losing his father, seeing his mother suffer as his father became gravely ill. His father, likely a doctor who saved many lives, was a good man, so accepting his death was very hard for him. So he makes up his mind that he will make sure people never have to suffer like that again. In other words, for him, Richie was much more than just a project, it was his life's purpose. That made him blind to what was morally right, as long as his project moved forward. Ironwood and Tempest arrive after everything has been destroyed. They're sad, but ultimately, the bad Richie was eliminated. It was a victory, even if it didn't feel like one. But there was still fear, because now this was a clear sign of war against the corporation. In the end, Ironwood tries to see the bright side of all this. Richie, one way or another, showed what really mattered and revealed the worst in human beings. Maybe this could be a good starting point for genuine change. Not yet. Honestly, one of the best things I've played this year, no doubt. Guys, if you're looking for a game with an amazing story and enjoyable combat mechanics, it's fun, well made, has variety, and it's not as repetitive as it seems. Maybe, I don't know what impression you get just by watching the video, but it does require you to pay attention to what you're doing. At least I thought it was really good. If you haven't played this game yet, I highly recommend it. It's on Game Pass as of this recording and you won't regret it. If you like indie games, platformers, or just enjoy a good story, this game is perfect for you. Besides this wonderful 2.5D look, the game's atmosphere is incredible. You really feel immersed in this world, in this universe that was created, this dystopia. Honestly, this game is really good. I highly recommend you play it. There are a lot of things I can't convey in a video that you'll only feel by playing. Yeah, reading all the conversations, all the little things you find, the collectibles you find throughout the maps also flesh out the world in a way that you can really understand what's happening, how people are feeling, and all this corruption that has appeared in society, so it's a different experience. This video here is a summary of the story, but if you play, you'll focus even more on these details. I'm gonna try my best, obviously, to bring you a great summary here, telling it well so that you feel really immersed in the story, but of course, nothing compares to actually playing, right? To actually playing the game. So I highly recommend it. It was a great surprise. If you haven't liked the video yet, my friend, now is the time. I'm counting on your like, because it really helps get this content to more people. Thank you, my friend, for being a channel member and financially supporting our work here. If you're not a member yet, man, it's really cheap. For a nominal price, you can get early access to videos, emojis, and most importantly, you support the channel. So become a member and join the Blancs crew, alright? I'll stop here, my friends. If you still want to watch a bit more content from the channel, I'll leave some recommended videos on the screen. Just click on any of them and I'll see you in the next video. Big hug, God bless you, we're in this together.